Today's guest is an expert doula and the founder of the global maternity organization Mama Glow. Last month, Latham Thomas chatted with us about helping women reclaim their bodies through the birthing process. Now she's opening up about her favorite wellness practices and her hopes for the future of the wellness industry. This is Advocate Now. Over the past decade, the wellness space has become very commercialized, prioritizing the wealthy in particular, leaving a lot of people out of the conversation. How do you think that we can make the wellness space more inclusive?
Well, I think that, I think we have to also look at like what we consider to be wellness. I think we have to consider what it means to like what this industry has become, right? Which was really like appropriating the practices, rituals, the cultural products really of other um, peoples globally, repackaging and then marketing out to the world, and then also severing the connection to those peoples and those places, um, and platforming it and making it non-accessible because it's expensive now, right? And then it also looks like something I don't recognize, right? And so I think that like we have to look at like what capitalism does when it's part of the wellness machine. And so I think there's ways to practice and engage in wellness that are not expensive. I think there's ways to practice and engage in wellness that help to ground you in your own traditions ancestrally and connect you to, back to your body and help to restore us to a place of optimal well being. And I don't think those things have to cost anything. I mean, most of the practices that I engage in that are wellness oriented um, are free, right? I love things that are expensive. I'm a product person. I have all of the products. I have like actually too many, right? I can't even finish them by the time they expire. I have too many products
Same.
ever. I mean, it's like crazy. But I don't think you have to have that to feel like you're practicing well-being or engaged in a wellness practice, right? I think that it is important though for us to think through what it means to be in this moment, and like how we and what it means for other people's, right? So I think about like how everyone loves avocados here, or quinoa, or I don't know, whatever it is, right? Like the flavor of the month. But the fact is that like us having to have access to a superfood year round, what that does to an economy and to a people, that like are outside of our purview, our daily purview, it's actually it's making them unwell, right? It's creating political strife, particularly if you look at in Mexico, right, where it's literally like people have to, you know, like arm themselves, right, who have their avocado farms. It's like it's crazy. So I think we have to think about what it means to engage in an ethical way in wellness, what it means to engage in a way where we're not appropriating or siphoning or colonizing tools of other people's and practices of other people's.
Are there any other sacred practices you can share? Because we love things, all things wellness and self-care here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of dancing. I used to do folkloric dance, and so I'm always about like moving the body. I love taking hikes. I grew up like, doing like night hikes and stuff. And so living in New York, it's a little bit different, but I still take walks at night, in the morning too, like early morning, and then night hikes. I do Pilates. That's like twice a week or something that I do that. I think that's really helpful, especially while we're doing the more sedentary like thing where people are kind of at home doing the hybrid, or some of us are back to work fully, but some of us are still at home, and you sit a lot, right, when you're at the computer. And so the Pilates is really great for the elongation and opening up and really great stretches that I would normally not do. Um, yeah, for me, it's really about like just like softness, right? So I don't really do intensive exercise like I did probably in my 20s. I'm in my 40s now. And so it's like, I think about, in your 20s, it feels good to like push yourself to these limits. So like competing, I was running and competing. I did a marathon, like all these kinds of things that are like really intense on your body. And I came to a place where I started to see like, oh yeah, like my body likes this kind of movement. This feels good for me. My body does not like this. Let's not do that. Right. And so I started to create some boundaries around what types of movement felt fortifying. And then also looking to see where along my cycle that movement felt good. Right. Like leading up to my cycle, it's more like, dancing and things like yoga feel really good. During my cycle, rest and stretching feels good. When I'm post cycle, then like things like kickboxing, could feel really good. And so I just kind of I just look to see what my body's craving and I respond in that way. But I think that, self care is really like something that's individual. And it's also not like, taking a moment to like escape your life. It's really like checking in on a moment to moment basis and asking, okay, self, what do I need to like move through this moment, right? And what's going to be supportive of myself and everyone involved?
It's so important for us to tune in and to figure out what our body needs in that moment. I feel like so many people are just walking around disconnected, which does not serve us well at all. You're doing so much for women in terms of the wellness space, but are there any other causes that you're passionate about advocating for?
Well, my work is about advocating for, birthing individuals and primarily looking at, the maternal health crisis that we have in this country. Right now, Black women and birthing people are 4 to 5 times more likely to die during childbirth or due to childbirth related causes. And because of this, the work that we do in doula work is to help eradicate that. A lot of the work that I do in advocacy is also about, protecting care workers, ensuring that care workers have adequate supports to navigate their well-being as well. And so, for me, it's like I'm a I'm an advocate, for I'm an advocate for like, women in general. That's my thing. But then also I just think that, in a time where, we really should be like we're in a nation where you think like everything's great here, right? We got great education or whatever, like healthcare. We're like spending the most, per capita in healthcare, and we have the worst healthcare outcomes. And so, a big piece of what we do is to like address those care gaps and to ensure that, like people have better birth outcomes. And so it's so important how you're born. And we want to ensure that, families are intact, and that it's not just enough to survive childbirth, but I'm advocating for people to thrive, right? Like I want people to thrive on the other side of birth. I want them to feel connection. I want them to feel empowerment and self-determination. And I think that a big piece of this is really us, deconstructing our current medical model and bringing in new energy, young people, folks who are forward thinking. A big piece of what we do is investing in the next generation of birth workers. And so we have a university program at Brown University where we have a doula club where I teach our doula training to university students there as a professor at Brown. And so that's a big piece for us too, is, bringing in the next generation who's going to help transform our current medical model.
Latham, thank you so much for all the work you're doing, for sharing your knowledge with us and spending some time with us today. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. Thanks for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, visit advocate.com and advocatechannel.com.